Hello and welcome to this video. In this video I'm going to share how you should invest £35,000 in properties, i.e. £35,000 to help you buy a buy-to-let investment that will generate a 15% return on your investment. Before we get going, if you like this video or any of my videos, hit the like button below, subscribe to my YouTube channel for more of this amazing tutorial. Right, let's get to this video. With inflation sky high at 5.5%, if you've got your money saved in your bank account, it's really not doing you any good. Actually, that money you've saved in your account or your bank or your savings account is literally losing you money. Effectively, you're losing money from saving that money in your account, because looking at it right now, the banks are only giving 1.6% interest in any savings you have, and inflation rate is at 5.5%. You do the maths, you would understand exactly why I'm emphasizing for you to invest in properties in a way that it is efficient, solid, and also it gets you to achieve whatever you want to achieve. So before we get going into how you should invest your £35,000, let's talk about it. Let's be obvious. If you want to achieve any good result, the first thing you need to think about is about setting up your goals. So we need to set our goals so we know exactly what we want to achieve. And again, these goals needs to be gigantic, massive goals that would allow us to actually be able to get these properties at the time and when we need it, or at the goal or time we've set that to be. Because if we haven't set our goals, if we don't know what we're looking at, what sort of properties we're looking at, which area we're looking at, and how many properties we need to buy within a year, obviously we will get nowhere. It's like having a Ferrari car. If you haven't got a destination, you will go nowhere. The one with a Fiat Punto, whatever car they have with a destination, will eventually get there before you. So if you want to invest in properties, you've got that £35,000. Let's assume that £35,000 is the only £35,000 you have to invest, and without that, literally, you haven't got any money again to invest. Instead of saving that money, buying stock and shares, buying cryptos that you don't even know what's going to happen, let's now assume you get that money to actually buy yourself investment properties. So you need to set that goal and say, okay, now I want to buy this property at this price, and then you go put a number on how many properties you want to achieve, and then obviously you go out there and get it. The second thing you need to consider before you put in your £35,000 is the most important thing to me personally. I think is investing in yourself. This is educating yourself. If you want, you can go on YouTube. Now we've got so many YouTube videos that you could watch. If you've got time to do 300 hours videos, watch it on YouTube, educate yourself, know what's happening, what's the trend, who are the people that are doing really, really well in properties. If you happen to have a chance to invite them for a meal or so, do that, because that would help you drastically to take your property investment journey to the next level. And again, we have podcasts now. Most of the property investors have podcasts. You go there, follow them on their podcast, listen to it, and find out who are the investors they are interviewing, what are the skills and experience that they are sharing, how they're sharing their journey. For example, I've got my podcast, Property Investment Blueprint Podcast. That podcast is all about my journey. I interview experienced investors as well as inexperienced investors and investors who just started their property investment journey. Again, you can learn a lot from that without actually paying for any advanced courses. If you really want to take it to the next level, you could also pay for online courses. And again, these online courses, some of them are subscription based and some of them are just one-off payment. You can go actually and pay for that course, and then you immerse yourself in doing that strategy or whatever investment strategy you want to go into. And again, you could go into advanced trainings, you could go to property seminars, property meets. You can find a mentor or coach who would help you take your property investment journey to the next level, because they've gone through it all and they've learned from their mistakes. So if you've got a coach or a mentor to help guide you to take it to that next level, what that means, it expedites your process significantly, and then obviously allow you to minimize the risk of making mistake with your £35,000, especially if that £35,000 is an investment that is the only investment you have, or the only money you have to invest. I recommend greatly for you to invest in yourself. So suppose you want to invest in yourself. Out of that £35,000 we have, I would set aside £5,000. £5,000 that goes to your education, because you want to educate yourself to ensure you make a minimal mistake. Let's assume you've educated yourself, you know what you're doing now. The next thing you need to think about is basically to find a patch. What do I mean by patch? I'm talking about investment area. You cannot buy properties everywhere in the UK, and you cannot be literally looking in Newcastle today, Liverpool tomorrow, and South Wales the other day. It's not going to work like that. So do your research, do your due diligence, look for where property prices are low and the cash flows are great. So then you find that area to be your patch. Once you know that patch, and you concentrate all your effort, all your input in getting properties from that specific area. And again, it could be a city, it could be a town, whatever it is, make sure you find that patch and you laser focus in getting properties there. Ideally, you want to look for an area where you could buy properties for like 100,000, 110,000, 80,000, anything below 110,000 would do really well with your £35,000. And that way, if you buy properties where the property prices are low and then the rent are high, that would help you significantly in getting better return on your investment. The other thing you need to consider actually before investing £35,000, let's say 30,000 now, because we've already taken that £5,000 out to educate ourselves, okay? So what you then do, you need to find people to work with. It's very important for you to have a power team. Without a power team, you really struggle, because obviously with properties, you cannot do everything, because obviously you have various people that you need to work with to allow the deal to happen, to allow the renovation to complete, to allow you to rent the property, to allow you to manage the property. So the key people you want to literally build around you to help you take your property investment journey to the next level. The number one person you need to get, for me personally, after you have a good solicitor. Solicitor helps you facilitate all the legal processes to allow you to buy the property. And then you've got your mortgage broker. Your mortgage broker is very important as well, because they help you get the best rate out there for your investment property. And then you've got your tradespeople, the people that will help you renovate the house to take it to the level you want to take it. And again, very important, you have to vet the tradespeople. You have to have minimum of 3 or 4 people working with you, or that may be working with you, should in case someone pulled out, you've got another person to actually slot in. The other person you need to also have on board, if you are self-employed, is your accountant. Your accountant is very important, because your accountant helps you understand the figures, as well as help you advise you in what way you need to buy your property tax efficiently to ensure you pay as minimum tax as possible. The other person also you need in as your power team would be a coach or a mentor. The reason why I'm banging on that, because they would help you expedite your process to literally take you to the next level, so to ensure you make minimal mistake, and to also ensure you're able to know things to do in advance before they happen. Again, that is very important. The final person you need to get on board basically is an estate agent. Estate agents is very important to have a good one, not just any estate agent. You want to have someone with good records, someone who will be able to manage your property, not just collect the rent or dump a tenant there or just sell the property. You need to have an agent who knows about property. They are not salespeople, they are property people themselves. Because if they are property people themselves, that then helps you really to be able to actually work with them to help you rent your property, sell it, or as well as help you buy investment properties below market value. And the other thing you need to consider basically before we get to the figures, so you can say you can invest your £35,000, is consider staying mortgageable. Consider staying mortgageable. Very important. Don't forget, your good credit rating would help you buy a property, because that then gives you an opportunity to look at various places within the property market, and then stay on top of your credit. Basically, if you've got loans to pay, continue paying them, review your credit score, credit rating, ensure you whatever you're doing, your credit rating is protected and is going up. Especially if you're about to buy a property, keep using your credit cards and to buy things, because that would help boost your credit rating. So let's get to the calculations now. Because we've got the £35,000, we've put aside £5,000, as you know, to educate ourselves. The remaining money we have basically is £30,000, and this £30,000 we need to make it work effectively for us. So assuming that we found our patch, let's say our patch is somewhere in the north of England, we saw a property. It's an amazing 3-bedroom terrace house that needs a bit of work to bring it to a livable or sellable condition. Let's assume that property, because it's a dilapidated property, it hasn't got a kitchen, it hasn't got a bathroom, we need to add life to it, we need to add value to it. Let's assume the property was £80,000 and we were able to secure it at £60,000. We went there, negotiated, because now you've educated yourself, you know how to negotiate deals, you've got someone to mentor you and coach you, you're able to secure that property at £60,000. So we secured the property for £60,000. Now we need to work out the figures, because we've negotiated it from £80,000 to £60,000. We need to work out how much money we need to invest in this property to get us to be able to buy that property. So the first thing we need to consider out of that £60,000 we're going to buy that property would be the deposit that we put down to be able to buy that property. Okay, let's say the deposit is 25%. 25% of the £60,000 purchase price is £60,000. Okay, so we need to put down £25,000 for the bank to be able to lend us that money to buy the property. So that 25% would be £15,000. £15,000. So that £15,000 is what we're going to do. If you're buying the property, you also have to pay stamp duty tax. Some stamp duty tax is the tax you pay for purchasing in property. If it's in Wales, it's called transaction tax. Okay, so let's say our stamp duty, STDL, let's say our stamp duty is 3%, assuming you have another property. That would be £1,800. Okay, and then we've got your mortgage cost. Let's assume we've got a mortgage broker, and a fantastic mortgage broker that we would pay to go and get us amazing deals. Let's assume that is £400. Okay, and also we have our legal cost. Legal cost would be in average for a solicitor, for a good solicitor to help you buy or sell a property, they may charge you about £800. Right? So now, refurb. Refurb is the cost basically to renovate the property, to bring it to a livable condition. Okay, it's not going wow. We're gonna renovate the property based on our target market, based on the people that we're working, and based on the condition of the property. In this example, I'm assuming that our renovation cost would be £10,000. Okay, £10,000 is our renovation cost. And again, before we conclude these calculations, we need to also ensure that, right, we have contingency in place should something goes wrong. So what I normally do with properties like this, I put a contingency of £2,000. Okay, this, adding all these figures up, we've got £15,000, we've got 1,008. We have the deposit of 25%, £15,000. We have stamp duty, £1,800. We have mortgage cost, £400. We have the legal cost, our solicitor's fees, £800. And then we have the refurb, the renovation cost, £10,000. And we have the contingency at £2,000. So what that means basically, this is the cost we need to be able to bring the property to a livable standard. So if we add all these up, 15,000, 1,800, 400, £800, 10,000 and £2,000, that would give us a total of £30,000. By magic, we've hit that figure, right? Now we've invested £30,000. We need to know now how much will this £30,000 gives us in return, and also how much profit we may be able to make by investing that £30,000 in a property in north of England. Okay, now we've done the analysis. We know our initial investment would be 30k, so we know our total investment now, including our education, is £35,000. Is £35,000. So now we've invested this money, because we've educated ourselves, we know what we're doing. We now need to work out how much we may be able to rent the property out with that investment and what our return on investment, okay? I'm gonna show you how you could make your money work a lot more harder, and I also show you what return you would make if you only rent this property to a family. Let's assume now we've got the property, we've done all the work, and it's ready now to be rented, and we were able to rent this property for £550 per calendar month. Okay, so what we need to do, we need to analyze then, if we want to finish the property, how much profit we would make every month. So what we would now do, we're gonna go to rent. We're going to find out what the rent is. The rent, assuming, looking at the area, assuming that we're going to be able to rent that property for £550 per calendar month. Okay, that's how much we're going to rent that property at. Okay, so now if you're renting a property in the UK, we have some cost associated to renting that property. So the first cost you consider usually is your mortgage interest. Mortgage interest, assuming that this property is about £100,000 now, our mortgage interest, we're going to assume that to be £113 again per calendar month. Okay, so once we've taken our mortgage interest, because we need the property to be a passive income, we're going to pass it on to management agents to manage the property on our behalf. So let's say management fees is at 10% of our gross rental income. That would be about £55 again per coming month. Okay, per coming month. Now we've paid the management fees, and then we need to pay our insurance. The insurance I'm referring here is the building insurance. It's not content insurance. Content insurance, you don't really have to pay for content insurance, especially if you're renting the property. Usually your tenants do the content insurance for you, right? So let's assume our building insurance for this property would be about £15 again per calendar month. Okay, so now we've got all these costs. We're going to add them all up. That then gives us our total monthly cost for this property. That would be £183 per calendar month. So what we now need to do, we need to know what our net profit is. Some people call it net cash flow. Yeah, it's the same thing. Okay, our net cash flow would be 520 minus £183. That gives us a net profit of £367.50 per calendar month. Right? This is the profit we would make for renting the property out. £367.50. Right? Again, in a £30,000 investment, looking at what the bank is giving you right now is virtually it's incomparable, because the interest rate in the bank is giving you about 1.6% interest, and with this, for that £30,000 investment, you are on £367.50 per calendar month. Okay, if we times that by 12 months, the figures looks amazing. You are on £4,410, right? £4,410 in your £30,000 investment. And if you look at the ROI in this, so what we do, what is ROI? ROI is the return of your investment. If you remember earlier when I was explaining to you, is the return you get for investing that £30,000. So what we're going to do basically is your 4,410, we divide that by our £30,000. If you divide it by our £30,000, that gives us an ROI of 15%. ROI of 15% in only £30,000 investment. And again, you can see what sort of return you could be making with that £30,000. Absolutely amazing. That's just the cash flow. This is just the cash flow. I haven't even talked about, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, how much money you would have pulled out from this investment. I'm going to show you now how you could recycle that £35,000 into buying another property whilst having the same property. So again, this is what the survey investors do. This is the sort of thing that investors who know what they're doing actually do to recycle their money. And with this £30,000 investment, even if you haven't got all your money back, you're at 15% return on investment. Okay, let's now look at it. When we've remortgaged this property, how much value we would have added, and whether we've been able to pull all our money back out, or whether we've left money in that deal, and if we were able to pull all our money out, what we could do with the money that we were able to pull out. Okay. We have our investment. Investment of 30,000. We have our annual net cash flow of £4,410, and we have our ROI of 15%. Right? This is what we've achieved from investing that £30,000. Okay? Fast forward 6 months down the line, we've done the works, we've renovated the property, tenant has moved out, we've added value to the property, everything is going smoothly as the way we've anticipated, right? Now it's about time to remortgage the property. Basically, we're going to take that property from a short-term loan, maybe a bridging loan that we would have used to buy that property for us to add that value. We're now going to remortgage that property to a higher value. We're going to assume in this example, we're able to force the appreciation by adding value to that property to £100,000. So the £60,000 property we initially bought now worth £100,000 because we've done work in it. We've added a new kitchen, new bathroom, maybe an extra room that we could call office. We've done the garden really nice. Front pavement looks amazing. So we've added that value. So we forced the appreciation. Assuming now the new value is £100,000. Okay. Let's assume the new value is now £100,000. We would go to the bank then and tell the bank that we've bought a property, we've done all the renovation work within the 6 months, and the property price, we believe the property has gone up in value, and we believe the property now worth £100,000. So what the bank would do, basically, the bank would say, okay, if you say your property worth £100,000, we're going to send someone there to go and check what you say is absolutely correct, and that property worth £100,000. So what the bank would do, they would send their valuation officer. This happens after you've got the decision in principle. The bank would say, okay, assuming what you said is correct, we're going to send someone there. Someone will go and revalue that property, which is the valuation officer. The valuation officer would go and revalue the property, assuming that that property that you valued come back to what you've told the bank, £100,000. The bank will lend you 75% of that £100,000. So your remortgage amount forgive the handwriting, I hope it makes sense to you, would now be 75% of that £100,000, which is £75,000. So the bank would literally lend you the 75% of the £100,000, which is £75,000. So what we're now going to do as investors, we need to pay our existing loan. The 75%, the bridging loan company lend us to buy the property at £60,000 because they would have lent us 75% of the £60,000, which is £45,000. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're going to minus the existing loan. Okay, existing loan is £45,000, and this £45,000 is the 75% of the £60,000 the bank had lent us when we initially bought the property. I hope it's making sense to you. Okay, so now what then happens basically at the remortgage stage, your solicitor would get this £75,000 paid in their client's account, right? So what your solicitor will do first, basically, is to look at your property details, and they would have known that you've got £45,000 lending from another bank. So once they've received the £75,000, they will deduct this £45,000 and pay your existing lender, the lender that borrow you that money at the initial outset. So what then do, the bank will then, once you've done that, as an investor, then you've got that money left over. What your solicitor then do, they will refund that remaining amounts to you. So if they deducted the £45,000, right, out of that remortgage amount, and now we know our initial investment was, as you know rightly, was £30,000. That £30,000 is our legal fees, our deposit, and all the expenses to get the property literally to a lettable condition. As we remember, that's the £30,000 there. So that would be minus £30,000. Okay. So what happens then? The solicitor pays this money to your lender, and the remaining amount, which assuming is £30,000, will be paid back to you, the investor. Right? You get that money back. What that means, basically, you would have got the £75,000, right? Deducted the £45,000, and you've deducted the £35,000. That leaves you with £0 left over. What does this mean, basically, is that you were able to buy a property at £60,000, right? Add value, spend £10,000 to add the value, and you force the appreciation to go to £100,000, which is this amount we've remortgaged the property. The bank had lent you the £75,000. You've paid back your loan. You've paid back all the expenses. You've paid yourself all the expenses. Everything has been paid for, and you haven't left any money in that deal. So what this means, basically, you have recycled all your money. You literally recycle all that £30,000 here. So what you then do, as a savvy, smart investor, would have gone to the mentorship programs, to my advanced courses, who know lots about property. So what you then do, you use that same £30,000 to go and buy another house for yourself. Forgive my handwriting. You go and buy another house for yourself, and guess you repeat the same process. So if you're able to repeat this process so many times, you will buy as many properties as you could possibly can and keep them. Bearing in mind, you've done all these figures. One, you've got all your money out. Secondly, and you've got yourself a property. You've got yourself a house that will be generating you £367.50 every single month. That's a total of £1,410. Again, this is how I was able to buy all my properties. I was able to recycle all my investment, right? I'll buy a property, make sure I did the work right, make sure I haven't left any money in that deal, and use the same money to go and buy myself another property, do the same thing, go and buy myself another property. That was how I was able to build my property investment portfolio. I really hope this is making sense, and you will literally look at that £35,000 you've got in your bank account now and make it work harder for you in a buy-to-let investment strategy. I really hope this video has been helpful. If this video has been helpful, don't forget to hit the like button below, subscribe to my YouTube channel for more of these amazing tutorials. Another way we could make the money work a lot more harder is basically, instead of renting the property to a family, like in one tenancy, we would consider using that property as a service accommodation or holiday let. Then you can see how the figures change drastically. Okay, if you're thinking about making your money work a lot harder without having problem with nightmare tenants, without having problems with repairs, without having problems with chucking someone out of your property, the other strategy you could do is what we call service accommodation. Service accommodation is the process by which an investor would use their property as a mini type boutique hotels for guests that are going on holiday, or literally spending weekends with family and friends, or just spending weekends in a town or city near them that's got lots of tourist attractions. Again, these are the ways you can make your property look like a show house or showroom. It allows you to actually literally squeeze the juice out of your investment. So again, I want to go through an example. So it's exactly how you could compare this £4,410 investment to doing it as a service accommodation, because this £4,410 is an example if you were to rent the property out to a family to get a safe, secure, small investment return on the investment every month. So now let's look at it to the next level. Assuming that you don't want to rent it to family, let's now look at it then how we could make money on using it as a service accommodation. Let's assume we've got a property, again, somewhere in north of England. This could be Newcastle, somewhere in Cramlington or something like that. Let's assume now we've got that property, we've done it up really nice, as we already did in our £30,000 investment there. Let's now say, instead of renting it to a family, we're going to use it as a service accommodation, and we only have the property occupied 50% of the time. Let's say this property is only been used as service accommodation 6 months of the year. Let's assume that's the only time, that's the only guest we have for those properties, okay? So with that then, places like Newcastle, the nightly rate is anywhere between 120 to say £200 per night. So in this example, we're going to look at a reserve figure, assuming that the nightly rate is £120 per night. At 50% occupancy rate, your income is £21,720, right? This is what you would have made in a year. But the reason why I do average figures or yearly figures when it comes to service accommodation is because sometimes you get lower bookings during the month, and sometimes you got higher bookings, and then during the summer or holiday time you literally charge more for your property. So with this service accommodation analysis, I'm doing the figures on an annual basis. So assuming that in the whole year, this property will be generating us 21,720. Obviously, if we're doing service accommodation, we are responsible to pay the bills, the mortgage, and all. Well, we normally pay for the mortgage anyways, but we're responsible to pay all the other expenses within the property. So let's look at these expenses individually. So obviously, we have our mortgage. Our mortgage, annual mortgage, would be roughly about 1,350, right? And we have our electricity and gas. Let's say gas is 1,080, electric 1,080, and then obviously we have water and council tax we need to incorporate here. Let's say water is about 840. Okay, 840 is what we would pay annually for the water usage in this property. Let's say council tax, worst case scenario, let's say council tax is about 1,920 for our council tax, or that's what we pay. Let's say we pay for our Wi-Fi. Again, Wi-Fi is very important to have a strong Wi-Fi in your property. Without Wi-Fi, guests will literally be so upset with you if the Wi-Fi is not working properly. So invest drastically to ensure your Wi-Fi is working really, really well. Let's assume then we had amazing Wi-Fi. That's cost us £420 a year. Okay, so what we need to consider, because obviously we're renting the properties to guests, we need to consider cleaning the property, setting up the property for the next guest. So that's what we call housekeeping. Let's assume housekeeping is at £3,000 a year. Basically, we need these people to literally come round, do the property up really, really nice, set it up for the next guest to ensure the next guest is also happy. And with my analysis, not everybody does this, but I do this in my analysis. I include transaction fees. Transaction fees is what you pay to the platforms that you advertise your property on. This could be Booking.com, Airbnb, TripAdvisor, Verbo, and so many more out there. So obviously you have to pay them any transaction cost for any guest that has booked your property. So I put transaction cost. Your transaction cost might be £1,086. Okay, £1,086 is what we would put for our transaction cost. And again, I don't want to be over pessimistic. I also add maintenance. Maintenance, I overestimate my maintenance because you never know what's going to happen. I put that at 1,800. Your maintenance would be at 1,800, and obviously I like to pay for my TV license because I want my guests to be happy using it without someone knocking at the door asking them for TV license. So I include TV license in it. So TV license, obviously a year would be about £156. So adding all these figures together, adding all this expense together, this expense here together, right, that would give us a total of £12,732. So this is our annual expense for running the property as a service accommodation. So if you remember now, this is our gross income, right? So what we're going to do now, we're going to minus our gross income. We're going to minus our expense from our gross income, because our gross income is the gross without the expense. So if you minus that, we would be making £8,988 per year, right? You'll be making £8,988. And this is just, I'm going to be telling you now, this is just at 50% occupancy rate. This is us saying we only have guests there for 6 months of the time. As you can see here, it literally doubled the £4,410 you would have received if you rent it as a family. It's incomparable. So this is what you say to people. You want your money to work a lot harder for you. From £4,000 to £8,988 in the same property without you doing any different thing apart from setting the property up as a service accommodation. And your ROI with this would be 30% return on your investment. Again, you've doubled your return on investment. This is what lots of investors are doing right now to take their property investment journey to the next level. Very, very important. I'm going to go quickly on this at that 30% return, right? Assuming now, right, this property, because you bought the property in a very nice, good location, we've got this property at 90% occupancy rate, okay? Bear with me. Say we got the property at 90% occupancy rate. The figures change drastically. You are on £96 a year, right? This is at 90% occupancy rate. Let's say all our expenses, all these here, right? Let's say because we've got more guests, that would obviously increase. And our total expense would have been £13,600, right? So we've made £30,096 here. And our total expense had gone to £13,600. Our net profit for this deal would have been £25,495. Hello? That is absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. And this is what investors are doing right now. They're not buying these properties and rent it to family anymore. They're buying the properties and use these properties as service accommodation or holiday let. Imagine from 50 to 90%, it gives you £25,496. That is nearly £26,000 in the same property, in exactly the same property. And again, this is what I am doing now. All my buy-to-let properties, I'm slowly converting them back into service accommodation or holiday let, because this is what makes your money work a lot harder. This is what gets you to get the better return on your investment. Absolutely make any investment an infinity return on investment. So as you can see then, from £4,410 to £8,988 to £25,495. Okay, if you look at the return on investment on this at £30,000, we are on actually 85% return on investment. Right? let's assume worst case scenario, okay? Even if we were not been able to pull all our investment out, within 30 months, we would have got all our investment back. Okay, and again, that's another way to think about it. If you cannot pull all the investment out in a deal, you could say, okay, now instead of renting it to a family to generate £4,410, I will rent it as a service accommodation. I will double my money, or I can literally dribble my return on investment. Again, that gives you £25,495. Again, if you've been thinking or procrastinating about investing in properties, I hope this short video has made sense to you, and you can take the leap of faith to invest in properties that will generate you passive income for you, your family, and everybody around you. And again, I would advise you, before you do this, use that £5,000 to invest in you. Use that £5,000 to educate yourself. Use that £5,000 to ensure before you put that £30,000 in any investment, you know what you're getting into. You got someone to guide you, coach you, mentor you, take you to the next level. And again, if you're interested in mentorship program or any advanced courses, you can contact us by commenting on this video or literally contacting the office. All the contact details are on the description below. And again, if you like this video or any of my videos, don't forget to hit like button below, subscribe to my YouTube channel for more of these amazing tutorials.